Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 59, McGregor versus Seaver. Overall, it was kind of a mixed bag. There weren't too many finishes. Questionable judging really spoiled a lot. A good amount of fights in a sense. There are a couple of grinders in here with like Chris Wade versus Zhang Peng. T-Val versus Park was a bit grinding at times. There's some good performances here too. But otherwise, I think the story of this card was pretty much Conor McGregor. It's pretty much a Conor McGregor show the whole time. And of course, you saw Conor McGregor confronting Jose Aldo after his fight. But yeah, the judging in this and the bad judging here really showed itself in this card. Let's get started. Conor McGregor defeated Dennis Seaver by TKO in the second round. He said he would beat Seaver in the first 2 minutes, but I guess he meant the first 2 rounds, and he did. Relatively dominant win for McGregor. I think that Joe Rogan, a bit hyperbole with Rogan here though, because he was saying, oh, he had nothing for you, blah 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 blah, and it's just like, it was pretty bad. Yeah, he was in control of the whole fight, but I don't know. I didn't really feel it was like. I actually thought Seaver kind of acquitted himself pretty well. I thought he did better than Dustin Poirier did, at least. All things considered, I didn't expect him to win. I expected him to get knocked out, which he did. Then the move of the night for McGregor was that straight left. It's really long. It's really accurate. And it finds its target. It's a money punch for McGregor, actually. Seaver, like I said, he managed to get a couple kicks in there, mainly leg kicks. Even caught McGregor off balance here and there, where he'd kind of drop to his butt and he'd just get back up. Actually hit him clean a couple, here and there. It wasn't much though. I would say, I guess it's a dominant victory for McGregor. Probably not to the extent that Rogan was saying it, but nonetheless, good win for him. Obviously, Conor McGregor gets Jose Aldo next. He ran out, he jumped over the cage and confronted Aldo, who just pretty much sat there and started laughing the whole time, as McGregor was trying to provoke Aldo. Aldo didn't go inside the cage after the post, after all was said and done. So I think the question really becomes, and I know people have mixed opinions here, was what we saw from Conor McGregor tonight, and is what we're seeing from him just in general and his growth and whatnot, enough to beat Jose Aldo. It's really tough to say because, even though he does have that top 10 win, I think it's hard to deny that he's had a stylistically favorable matchups, and a lot of people will probably argue that with me, but honestly, I think it's true. He's had stylistically favorable matchups to get to the title. So it's really, Conor McGregor's really good. He is a legit blue chip prospect. Hype aside, let's get that out of the way. He is. it's just a matter of like, is he looking better than he really is? Well, because he's fighting really good stylistic matchups. In my opinion, I don't know. I would still favor Jose Aldo, to be perfectly honest with you. Especially with the leg kicks. Even like I said, even Seaver managed to get a couple kicks here and there against McGregor. McGregor isn't great at checking leg kicks. He does a lot of flashy stuff, but at the end of the day, his best offense is generally his boxing. Like I said, the story of this fight really was just straight left. Outside of all the spinning stuff and all the flashy stuff, yeah, I would, the most effective stuff was just mainly the boxing. I would also argue that Jose Aldo probably hits harder than McGregor, arguably. Aldo has fought, the higher level of competition. So I also forget that Jose Aldo he actually has an offensive takedown game. So I can see him actually maybe even mixing in takedowns if necessary against McGregor. But on the feet, I kind of have to give it to Aldo here. He's quick himself, but it's still a good matchup and one that Conor McGregor could win. It'd be great for the UFC if Conor McGregor beats Jose Aldo. I think it's safe to say guys like Frankie Edgar or Chad Mendes, though, I mean, we just do not know how McGregor will go up against those like really high level wrestle boxer type fighters. I guess that doesn't matter at this point though, because McGregor's fighting Aldo, and it's just really up to debate how well you think McGregor will do. I'm curious, to say the least. So it's definitely a fight I do want to see. Dennis Seaver, honestly, I don't even know if he should get top 10 guys. Maybe like the loser of Cole Miller versus Max Holloway, and people more towards the top 11 to 15 at this point for McGregor. Next fight after that, Donald Cerrone defeated Benson Henderson by unanimous decision. I had it for Benson Henderson to be, I'm not just saying that because I picked Benson to win. I thought that Benson showed a little more diversity. He was hitting those stepping knees a lot more. I thought that rounds were close, but I'm definitely not the only one that thought that Benson should have won. And I know a lot of people actually found that a bit controversial. You can also look at the body language of both guys. It didn't really look like Cowboy thought he won. And when the scorecard was announced 29-28, Benson looked pretty confident that was for him. Cowboy looked a bit uncertain, in my opinion, or from what my observation was. But yeah, Cowboy got the win over Benson Henderson, and it's kind of funny because I don't think anyone's really talking title shot for Donald Cerrone unless like Dos Anjos gets injured or something like that. Like I said, I like the diversity from Benson Henderson. I liked he'd hit knees, a lot of different types of kicks. He would use the oblique kick to the thigh a lot. Kind of overused it. His boxing didn't look too bad. Actually, there were a couple times he was kind of winging punches, but I think he's actually making a concerted effort to be a better boxer. Cerrone, I mean, he looked good too. He had a really nice switch kick at one time. One thing that one guy was saying too, just in a comment section of a blog, was it seems like the judges love takedowns or something, because I don't know what the difference maker was to give Cerrone some of these rounds, except maybe those takedowns. And it's especially true in the Cathal-Pendred fight, because but the problem is with a lot of these guys, like Cerrone, if he took down Benson Henderson would just get back to his feet. Same with Cathal-Pendred, Sean Spencer. So this is kind of funny in a sense, because Cerrone's got this really good win streak going in that. Now, I don't think he's going to get a title shot. I think he's probably going to fight like a Khabib Nurmagomedov next. Maybe Gilbert Melendez. Maybe the winner of Masvidal versus Green. But considering that he likes to fight so often, he's probably, not going to get a title shot. He's probably going to have to win one more, just get his coveted title shot, because he just likes to fight so much. Even though he's got the really big win, a lot of people are saying, like the people I was watching this fight with, and just a lot of other people are saying too, that this fight probably should have gone 5 rounds. They also looked like they could have gone 5 rounds. I thought it should have been 5 rounds. I don't know if it really went past. I know one guy actually said that like this fight was kind of a glorified sparring session. I don't think it really went past first or second gear. When you didn't really get the sense that a finish was coming. Nonetheless, good win for Cerrone. With Henderson, I think the next appropriate fight for him would probably be Eddie Alvarez. If not, you can give it like Miles Jury or the loser of Masvidal versus Green next. Next fight after that, Uriah Hall defeated Ron Stallings by TKO. It's a doctor stoppage in the first round. Stallings was actually getting a couple hits in there. But there was that one straight right. It was really short too. It was a really short straight right hand from Uriah Hall that dropped Stallings, and then he kind of really looked for the finish. That cut, and looking at pictures of it, it actually reached the bone. If you actually saw pictures of it, but it was actually a good effort from Stallings. All things considered, but Hall is just definitely the harder hitter, a little more like athletic and explosive. With that said, I think Hall should get Philippou or Tavares, like Brad Tavares, or maybe even the winner of Bosch versus Leites. Fighters along that level would probably be good for him next. With Stallings, it's more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. Next fight after that, Gleison Tibau defeated Norman Park by split decision. Pretty much what I expected from Gleison Tibau. I would say he got the more harder hits, whereas Park got more of the volume. Tibau could defend takedowns, and whereas Tibau did manage to get an offensive takedown here and there against Park, couldn't really hold him down though. It was a very Gleison Tibau performance where he can generally hang on the feet with, unless you're a really strong striker. If you're like a mid-level striker, you can usually hang on the feet with most guys. There's some guys that he just, like Jim Miller during his pro, his top. Michael Johnson, that can beat Tibau on the feet. Most guys can't take down Tibau. That's the thing with him. And you have to be able to really defend Tibau's takedowns. So, it was a close fight. There's definitely an argument for Park winning, but Tibau does this to up and coming prospects. It just, Norman Park, is just another one of his list of, hey, you're coming off, you got a good win streak, you know, feed him to T-Val. You can't beat T-Val, not ready for that very top tier. It is what it is. I mean, and these are good, solid fighters, but you have to be, above average. Like, you have to be like entering elite level to beat Gleison T-Val, and only some guys can beat T-Val and some guys cannot. At this time, Norman Park just is not one of those guys. He's not a heavy hitting guy. That's the thing with Norman Park. He's obviously a good he's a good wrestler. I mean, he's mainly a judo guy, but he has good takedown defense, and his offensive takedowns are pretty good. But I think the problem with Park is he's good everywhere, but he's just not great at any one aspect of MMA. And I think you have to be great somewhere, or at least well above average, in order to beat T-Val. So with that said, just keep feeding T-Val these guys. I mean, just your Norman Parks, your Piotr Homans. If you want to give him the winner of like Kevin Lee versus Mikael Pereira's next, that works. Any like these up and coming prospects, if you need to, if you're thinking about cutting a fighter, usually it's coming off a loss, but it's like they also use T-Val to kind of like, oh hey, let's match him up against, the winner of Michael Chiesa versus Mitch Clark. That's another one, like let's see if one of those guys is ready for that top tier. And Norman Park could probably get the loser of any of those fights I mentioned. The loser of Chiesa versus Mitch Clark, the loser of Pereira versus Kevin Lee. They all work from Norman Park. Okay, on to the prelims. Cathal Pender defeated Sean Spencer by unanimous decision. One scorecard of 29-28 and two scorecards of 30-27. The reason why that sounds so ridiculous is because Cathal Pender got dropped in the first round. Robbery. I don't usually use that word a lot. I am one of the last guys that'll close split decisions. Some people will use the word robbery and whatnot. This one was pretty blatant. I mean, this is a case of Sean Spencer beating up Pender on the feet, hitting those right hands. The times he did get taken down, he just got right back to his feet. He didn't take as many damaging hits as Pender did, obviously. I think it's a combination of incompetence and maybe some hometown cooking, Pender was, his hometown is Boston, but lives in Ireland or something like that. Because 30-27s are almost indefensible when you consider the fact that Pender got dropped in that first round. I rewatched that fight actually with a friend. It seemed a little closer second time around, where you can maybe argue that Pender had more control. That's always the problem with like stuff like this. You're like almost reaching for like, okay, well, what did the judges see? Why could you give it to Cathal Pender? Well, he had more control. It's like, okay, are you really counting the control and absolutely discounting and just making any of Sean Spencer's offense irrelevant then? I mean, is that it? Is his offense just utterly irrelevant because he had more control? I mean, like, what are we doing here? You know, if you're trying to argue a point for Cathal Pendred winning, it's just I don't understand why should he grasp at straws to give this guy a win. You know, I don't understand it, and maybe the judges liked takedowns. Every time that Pendred took him down, Sean Spencer just got back to his feet. I don't see it. I don't see a reasonable argument. If you did like 29-28 Pendred split decision, 2 29-28s, I would still say robbery, but at the very least, I mean, this scorecard is just, like I said, it's just indefensible. With that said, Cathal Pendred at 170, even at 185, slow, awkward looking striking, very untechnical. Gets by on heart, resilience, forward pressure, grit. But the guy is 3-0 in the UFC, and I quite honestly felt he should have lost against Umalatov. I know people were saying that the fight should have been stopped against Mike King, and I think most people can agree that Sean Spencer should have probably gotten the win over Pendred. I don't know what it is with there's something about Pendred that's kind of like the thing with Pendred is he definitely has that type of offense that could get these types of scorecards, like Diego Sanchez, Leonard Garcia. There's certain guys that have like this, like, oh, because I'm moving forward because of something, I'm always win. Like, it's like these guys that can always win on the scorecards just on like quote unquote control. And Pendred is one of those guys that I don't know if he means to do it, but just the way he fights, it's just he can get wins and very questionable decisions because he's always pushing forward, he's always grinding against the fence and whatnot. I said in the prediction, so he's not that. He's a very untechnical fighter. He wins on other aspects of the game. I don't think he should have got the win here. Just more lower to mid tier guys in the division for him and for Sean Spencer. Next fight after that, Lawrence Larkin defeated John Howard by TKO in the first round. Speaking of which, you know what? I actually missed saying this. Larkin got a performance of the night for this, and McGregor got a performance of the night for his performance, and then Sean O'Connell versus Matt Van Buren got fight of the night. But man, Larkin at 170 looked pretty good, I gotta say. I didn't like that he didn't check those leg kicks from John Howard, but he looked accurate. He showed a really good jab, though. There was actually one sequence where I think he was orthodox, and he was throwing like a jab from the left, and then he switched to southpaw and hit a jab with the right, like almost in combination, you know. Really liked his jab. He just looked really good here. I liked what I saw from his stand-up. And John Howard, not a world beater, but a very tough fighter. You know, he's not a guy. He doesn't have like a weak chin, and he's a guy that's generally tough to put away. I mean, he has wins over like Uriah Hall. He's fought some heavy hitting guys. Uriah Hall hits hard. Sayar Bahadazara hits pretty hard. John Howard managed to beat him. And you know, so this was a good win for Larkin to really start hopefully a run at 170. I hope they match him up with the likes of like an Alan Jabon, maybe a Warley Alves, more striking based fighters for Larkin. Maybe the winner of Nico Musilke versus Albert Einstein Tumanov or something like that. But more like mid-level strikers for Larkin. Because in middleweight, like in the UFC, he got like Derek Brunson, Francis Carmon. I'd like to see Larkin get a couple more strikers, but Larkin also has good takedown defense actually. With Howard, Jesus, 2 losses in a row. You know, he's a good gatekeeper. I'd kind of use him as a gatekeeper, though. Just more lower to mid-tier guys, a division for John Howard. Next fight after that, Chris Wade defeated Zhang Lepeng by unanimous decision. Besides the 3 nut shots, there's not much to say about this fight. There's a lot of clinching. Chris Wade pretty much does what Zhang Lepeng does. Clinch against the cage. Grind. Use their strength to clinch and make it a grinding battle. Chris Wade's just better at it, you know. You know, the thing with Chris Wade, he did look good against Kane Carrizosa by getting that guillotine, but historically he's more of a grinder type of fighter. Hopefully, as he moves up and whatnot, that he'll round out his skills a little more, because right now, I think for the foreseeable future, we're gonna see the guy just be something of a grinder. You know, it's just kind of his style to do that at this point of his development and just his style. But we've seen guys like Tyron Woodley, who else? And other fighters. They kind of start out as grinders, and then once they like develop their other, or Dong Hun Kim's another good example. Once they round out their skill set, they kind of get away from just pure grinding. Keep the fight standing a little more, set up takedowns a little better and whatnot. This was not a good fight though by any stretch of the imagination. This was a grinding fight. Zhang Lepeng is something of a journeyman fighter. Chris Wade is a prospect, but not like a blue chip prospect. Just more lower to mid tier guys in the division. And honestly, with Zhang Lepeng, I mean, not even mid level guys. Just give them lower. If you want Zhang Lepeng to get wins in the UFC, give him low level guys, because I don't think he can beat like mid level guys. Like if he fought like Court McGee or something like that. What weight class is it? 170, right? Or is it 155? I don't even know the weight class, man. But lightweight or welterweight, I mean, you give him like a mid-level, like a solid mid-level guy. I think Lepeng would lose more times than not. Next fight after that, Patrick Holohan defeated Shane Howell by unanimous decision. Holohan's an interesting prospect. He's not a great wrestler, but he did manage to take down Howell. He's a very opportunistic grappler, which is really good. Stand-up is improving. I just don't know if Holohan's gonna be a top 10 fighter. I can see him being maybe a top 11 to 15, but there's a lack of like physicality. That's why Chris Kalades was able to beat him, because Holohan isn't always the most physical fighter. But his stand-up isn't too bad, but he tries too hard to be like Conor McGregor sometimes. He can beat the Shane Howells and guys like that, but he's still a prospect, he's still developing, but like I don't know. I think there's a ceiling to his game, to be honest with you. Not to say that this wasn't a good performance. This was a very good performance. Took Howell's back a lot of times. Almost got rear naked chokes. If he utilized more ground and pound, I think that would really fit in with his arsenal. But it was nonetheless a good performance. Just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for him. With Howell, he's tough. But, 2-fight losing streak. Maybe he gets one more fight in the UFC. He lost to Ray Borg and Patrick Holohan. Ray Borg's really good. Is like a blue chip prospect. But Holohan is a solid enough prospect. But Howell isn't like a prospect or anything like that. So maybe he gets cut from the UFC after this. It's hard to say. Next fight after that, Johnny Case defeated Frankie Perez by TKO in the 3rd round. Wow. Okay, the reason why I say wow is because Frankie Perez was actually a not like a blue chip prospect, but he was seen as something of a pretty solid prospect. Trains with Ricardo Almeida, with the likes of Edson Barboza, Frankie Edgar, Amar Moraes. Not a bad prospect. And he got if you're telling me a dominant performance, this was pretty dominant. I mean, Case would ragdoll Perez sometimes to the ground. Immense ground and pound. I mean, he just didn't let Perez breathe. I mean, I don't even know if Perez got any offense. He got very little offense on Johnny Case. I did feel that this was a truly dominant performance for Johnny Case. When he was on top, man, his ground and pound was deadly. He's when he's standing over his opponent, he can reach his opponent's. He's pretty tall, and lanky, so he can reach his opponent's face. Pretty good. Stand-ups looks, is improving. Didn't expect this performance. I actually expected this fight to be a lot closer. So it was pretty interesting to see Johnny Case. I picked him to win, but I didn't expect him to do this well. It's good performance. I think it's time to give him like one of those like mid-level gatekeeper type guys. Maybe not Gleison Tebow per se, but like a Masar and Duba. Who else? This is lightweight, right? Jeez, I wish there's so many fighters now. I don't know the weight classes sometimes of where these guys are fighting. He fought Tokadome, so I think this is 155. Give him like a John Tuck maybe. Who else? John Tuck's kind of a prospect. Jeez. The winner of Prezeris versus Lee. Piotr Holman maybe even. There's some good opponents for Johnny Case. Like, there's no shortage of guys that he can fight, 2 finishes in a row too, this is pretty good, pretty good. Frankie Perez is more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. But next fight after that, Charles Rosa defeated Sean Soriano by Darce choke in the 3rd round. Good fight from both. I picked Soriano to win and Charles Rosa won. there's a lot of mistakes that Soriano made that Charles Rosa was able to capitalize on, especially in the fact that Soriano kept going into Rosa's wheelhouse. You know, don't go to the ground with this guy, you know, if you're winning the stand-up. But Soriano still obliged in grappling exchanges. Rosa's an interesting prospect. He has a kick-heavy stand-up. He can be a little too content off his back, though, but he's a very good scrambler. He's always in the fight. He has good pressure too, so he's pretty tough. You know, he's I would actually say is something of like a tough out for a lot of guys, because he is a bit. I would even go so far as say unorthodox. You know, with his kick-heavy style, sort of side kicks and whatnot. And also, he's very active, whether he's on top or off his back. So, you know, he's a tough out for a lot of guys at featherweight. Soriano, 3 losses in a row. He should probably get cut. He needs more seasoning. I mean, that's really it, because the pieces are there. You know, stand-up's not too bad. He moves pretty well. His grappling's not too bad, but he needs to just fix the holes, you know? So, with that said, Charles Russell, just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for him. Okay, on the Fight Pass prelims, Sean O'Connell defeated Matt Van Buren by TKO in the 3rd round. Van Buren was landing some really good knees, actually, on O'Connell. But O'Connell kept pushing forward, and because Van Buren has really bad stand-up defense, he's getting hit with like overhand rights and even left hooks. And O'Connell was just pushing forward to his own detriment at times. And eventually managed to get the TKO as a standing one. I thought it was a fine stoppage nonetheless. Even though he didn't really drop him. Good win for O'Connell. 2 knockout losses in a row for Van Buren. Maybe getting fight of the night will, and also just the fact that light heavyweight is pretty much, from a quantity standpoint, is actually one of the thinnest divisions in the UFC as far as quantity goes. I think just like for men's division, I think they have they might have the fewest fighters in light heavyweight, so they might keep Van Buren just because of that. Sean O'Connell, maybe he can be a low-level gatekeeper. At least he's a fun action brawler. It's not great for his health, but you can use him in the UFC. He does have a role there. It's better than being, you know, just a guy on the roster, you know. More lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. And finally, Joey Sanchez defeated Tateki Matsuda by split decision. Not to be mean, I don't know how Matsuda got that 29-28. That was really weird. I thought, you know, give Matsuda like the 2nd round, but at the most, but I don't know. It goes back to the judging thing. It's like, huh? Both guys need a lot of work. Matsuda, he's still really raw. He's very aggressive, but not defensively sound all the time. Joey Sanchez also needs help defensively. He hits pretty hard for the weight class, though. Still a good prospect, but definitely rough around the edges. Matsuda way more than Sanchez, though. I don't know if they keep Matsuda. He did lose to Chris Beal in his last fight. Flyweight's also pretty thin, though, so they might keep him for one more fight. So just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for him. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 59. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.